Yesterday is gone, tomorrow's a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why we call it the present.
If you don't like the outlook, try the uplook.
It's called the positive and the negative, and that's what makes a marriage work.
Welcome to Elder Wisdom, Stories from the Green Bench. We are in Season 5, and this podcast is all about sharing great stories from great people. If you're new to the program, thanks for coming in. If you're returning with us, thanks again. We now have garnered more than 83,000 downloads. This award-winning podcast is thanks to our listeners, guests, and the teams at Schlegel Villages and Memory Tree Productions, and the belief that Ron said best. The greatest untapped resource in Canada, if not the world, is the collective wisdom of our elders. I'm Kathy Buckworth. On behalf of my co-host Evelyn Brindle, welcome you to this season. I'm so pleased to be here. If you want to know more about what we're talking about, you can go to the website at elderwisdom.ca. And while you're there, please sign the Anti-Ageism Pledge. Now, Green Bench is the brainchild of Ron Schlegel, the founder of Schlegel Villages, which is a network of long-term care and retirement homes in Southern Ontario. The Green Bench began as a physical bench where seniors and younger generations were encouraged to sit together and engage in conversation. The point was to share the wisdom of the elder, that invaluable wisdom that can only truly be harnessed through the lens of years, and to show that elders have so much to offer. It was a way to battle ageism. And this podcast has grown. During the pandemic, LTC and the retirement homes were under strict lockdown, and the Green Bench was moved online. This is how the podcast came to be. So you may be wondering, if you're an astute listener and you've been listening in for the last few seasons, who am I? And what have I done with Erin Davis? Well, I promise you, I just heard her giggle there. It's nothing nefarious. I'm Kathy Buckworth. I'm actually the host of a radio show and podcast called Go to Grandma on Zoomer Radio and on podcasts everywhere. I am a mother of 4 and a grandma of 2 with a third on the way. I focus on talking to grandparents and giving them all the fun and facts that they need to know to live in the world of today's grandparents. I'm also the author of 6 parenting books, and I often comment, whether people want me to or not, on parenting and grandparenting in Canada. I'm so excited to be here to take a seat at the Green Bench. And I'm going to introduce you now to my co-host, the lovely Evelyn Brindle, who lives as a resident of the village of Erin Meadows in Mississauga, along with her husband, David. Hello, Evelyn.
Hi, Kathy, and everyone else. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm honored to have this opportunity to join the Elder Wisdom podcast family, and I'm very excited to be a part of the new season Stories from the Green Bench. Let you know a little about myself. I'm 85 years old. I was raised in Detroit, Michigan, and I have a master's degree in journalism, which I enjoyed a lot of work in that field over my lifetime. I'm also married to a wonderful guy who lives here in Erin Meadows as well, my husband, David. And he's here because he was diagnosed with dementia and MSA, which is multisystem atrophy, back in 2018. We have 2 beautiful daughters. Aileen lives here, and Karen, who's a 30-year resident in Hong Kong. 2 great sons-in-law and 4 terrific grandchildren. We moved here to Toronto in 1974. Dave was offered a position with the Ontario Ministry of Health, and we do maintain a dual citizenship, U.S. and Canada. One of the things I've had also was I'm a 2-time survivor of cancer, and that has let me go ahead and be very proactive in fighting that disease. Been fortunate in that regard. As I said, I've had a varied work life, changes constantly, and I've worked in community newspapers, National U.S. Ad Agency, a lot of years in public relations and advertising, and editor of a legal and court documents. And as a sideline, also for a time, a payroll administrator at Seneca College. But my current title, I guess, is family matriarch. So that's what my future holds anyway, as long as I'm here. So.
And your new title, of course, is also co-host of this podcast. And I'm so excited that we're podcasting this together, Evelyn.
Oh, so am I, Kathy. It's going to be a very interesting experience, I'm sure, for both of us and for our listeners as well.
And we can hear all about Evelyn if we listen to episode number 46. It's a great episode where Erin and Evelyn get into talking about critical thinking, maintaining long distance relationships, and some unexpected travel destinations. Evelyn, I loved the story as well about your honeymoon and how some good managed to come out of that start. And I also love that as a fellow grandmother that you constantly were sneaking and probably still are sneaking books into your children's stockings at Christmas, your grandchildren's stockings at Christmas. That's something that I would definitely do as well. So I think we're going to hit a few things in common here as we go along.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
So I'm going to I get to introduce some guests today. I don't know if you would have heard of Erin Davis or not, but she's a guest on the show today, along with her co-host from the last seasons, Doug Robinson. So Erin and Doug, thank you so much for joining Evelyn and I today.
Thank you, Kathy. I wish you all the best with the new show.
Thank you so much, Doug. That's so nice. I enjoyed so much listening to you and Erin in the previous podcast episodes. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about the transition and the evolution of things and what's happening on. So, tell me, I'm so pleased that we're able to do this together on the same podcast. Erin, what's happening there?
Well, I'm just so enjoying listening to you and Evelyn as you first step to the dance floor together and begin to learn your steps. They won't always be the same dances, and that would be boring to watch. Somebody's got to flip and somebody's got to soar, and someone just has to anchor you around the floor. And I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but you two, it's going to be a wonderful dance to listen to imagine. Evelyn, I have such great admiration for you. And I'm just remembering, thinking all of the things that we talked about. You're a warrior, you're a thinker, a reader, a raconteur. I cannot think of anyone better to step in as co-host. And then there's Kathy Buckworth. I mean, come on. We so have enjoyed not only Zoom calls over a glass of wine, and you know what I'm talking about, Miss Buckworth.
I do.
But also just watching her growing in her go-to-grandma role and telling her own stories. And this woman, you got to Google her. I mean, she is the hottest almost 60-year-old you've ever seen on the planet. So it's just, this is all going to be just such a wonderful, wonderful ride. And Doug and I have been very honored to be your bench warmers for the past, how did you say 80,000 downloads or something?
84,000. Very impressive.
Yeah, and we have to know that at least 60,000 of those were to hear, what is Doug going to say next?
And Erin has been a guest on my show as well, so I'm so pleased that we can do this, and she's been so supportive of what I'm doing as well, and I love to promote Erin's podcast as well, her Drift podcast, and her new one, Gracefully and Frankly. Of course, give you a little plug there.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask both Erin and Doug, and for mine and Evelyn's benefit, some words of wisdom about this experience that you've had. What will you miss and what should we know? Would you have some nuggets to share with us?
Doug, would you like to go first, my love?
Yeah. I'm 87 years of age, and it's been a wonderful experience for me. Everybody has been so kind. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a parcel delivered. And inside was a book on the podcast that I had done with Erin. And inside the book were photographs of all the people that we have interviewed, my trip to Denver, and me being presented with a microphone for doing 73,000 podcasts. And there's a wonderful picture in the book of Erin with her husband Rob sitting on the Chesterfield, and every photo is in colour. And the book arrived, my daughter phones me every night at 6 o'clock, and the book arrived about 7 minutes before 6. So there I am reading the book, and the phone rings. I answer the phone, and I am bawling my eyes out.
Aww.
And you know how when you cry and you try to speak and you gasp for air?
Aww.
Well, that's what happened to me. And my daughter on the other end is saying, Dad, what's the matter, Dad? Dad, quick, tell me what's up, Dad. And it took me a good 4 minutes to stop bawling. It was such a wonderful book. I wish I could show it to all of you.
Aww.
And as Erin, thank you for those lovely, kind words you put in the book for me. I'll treasure it forever. Thank you.
Doug, you are such a sweetie and a softie and just such a great, he'll haul out little snippets of dance hall songs or just the most, he just goes off in a direction that ends up being so funny. And Doug, it was a real adventure with you sharing this ride, although God knows you tried to drive us on the wrong side of the highway a few times, like a Brit would. But no, it was just such a pleasure. And the warmth of your laugh and hearing you again is so great. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. At the end, just before we sign off, I have a little thank you note here that I would like to read.
Well, you asked Kathy. Kathy's in charge now. She's driving this double-decker bus.
I am driving this bus, and I'm just making notes. I'm writing down Erin Davis makes people cry. Okay, got it. So in a good way. But of course, Doug, you're not really signing off entirely. You're going to be staying with us on the Green Bench. You will be involved with our Pearls of Wisdom. Did you want to tell our listeners about that, or would you rather I did?
Okay. We want to make space for all elders to share their wisdom on the Green Bench. All you need to do is visit elderwisdom.ca and click the podcast tab. Click on Pearls of Wisdom in the drop-down menu to record yourself. It's easy, just make sure you're in a quiet location and follow the prompts. You'll be asked to enter your name and email address, and you'll be prompted to record yourself as you answer the following questions. Who have you looked up to in your life, and what wisdom from them do you keep with you? And the second question is, what has been an unexpected source of joy for you? And thirdly, are there any words of wisdom that you wish to share the younger generation? There's just a few of my pearls of wisdom that will be coming in the future. Thank you.
If you do submit a Pearl of Wisdom, of course, you might hear your voice and your story being shared on the podcast. Right. How great would that be to have all of these other new voices joining the podcast as well?
And Kathy, that's been part of the joy of the things that the feedback that I've gotten over these last several episodes. And one of them was from my first co-host Lloyd Hetherington, who passed away, but before he did, he sure shared all of himself. And to hear from his daughters that one of them said that she was on her way to Christmas service or to visit her other sister, Lloyd's daughter, and listening to our podcast, and what a gift it was to hear her father's voice again. So think of these pearls of wisdom and taking part in these podcasts as a gift that you're not only leaving for strangers, but for those who love you, who miss you now, but will one day miss you more. So perhaps that will be, sort of your motivation to share a pearl of wisdom or two.
I think that's wonderful advice, Erin. I mean, we all love hearing from our loved ones. We don't get to hear from them often enough, and to have it sort of immortalized in that way, it's amazing. And so I hope people do take advantage of joining Doug with his pearls of wisdom. And that's what he's going to be doing for us ongoing. But I wonder, and Evelyn, maybe I can get you in on this as well, too. Do you have any questions for Erin and Doug while we have them here? We have them here. Let's grill them.
Please don't ask about our sexual chemistry, Evelyn. Doug and I, that was all a rumor. It was those darn British tabloids, and they just, honestly.
That's another podcast,
Erin, Erin, behave yourself. Behave yourself, Erin.
Well, you told me that, and I didn't, and suddenly we replaced Harry and Meghan.
Man. Mm-hmm. I'm an honest man.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And not to mention the distance factor as well, eh, Doug?
Yes.
So, yeah. Yes, I guess one of the questions is that how did you come upon choosing the people that you did interview? What made you determine the selection of some of them? Because I found so many of them very interesting and so different in the topics that you covered with them. So I'm curious about that.
Well, this is where we give all thanks to Melinda.
Melinda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Melinda.
Melinda Wilson is the writer, producer, project manager. She does everything, and she chooses the guests. And Evelyn, I think you and Kathy are both going to find, and I told Kathy this when she was perhaps considering taking this position, that Melinda prepares the interview so well. She will go in person or talk on the phone or Zoom as COVID forced and have conversations and glean from them what everybody wants to know, whether it's a snippet of your own story, like your honeymoon story that Kathy mentioned there, or your philosophy on something that no one else has, because everyone has a story. And I think, Doug, you'll agree that Melinda is so adept at finding those nuggets. And then she gives us pages upon pages of information about her pre-interview, about the things we might want to ask, like, why is that phone ringing in the background? And the things we might want to ask. And also she gives us the freedom to go off in other directions. So you will find no one better to work with than Melinda. And of course, Ted, who is coordinating everything on sites and the whole memory tree family. So believe me, we get no credit for the guests, only what we manage to bring out of them. And again, that's a lot of Melinda's work as well.
And thankfully, Melinda is staying with us for the season to help us out, Evelyn.
She's a mama bear. She's mama bear.
I could never have done the show without Melinda. People say I made the show, but no, Melinda made the show.
Do they, Doug?
Well, I tend to agree with. Yeah, I tend to agree with all of you. And the one extra thing I think that Melinda does as well is she makes you feel very comfortable. She puts you at ease when she is interviewing you. And I think that's been a really great asset as well, because all of the ones that I have listened to, they're very comfortable in answering your questions and in giving you some additional insight into their life and experiences. And that's a very unusual trait to have. So I compliment her on that as well. That's good to know about the other things, but she is a terrific interviewer.
Guys, Melinda here, and I'm blushing. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
Love hearing from Melinda, and I would also love to hear. Now, this is a big question, but I'm going to ask Erin and Doug. You interviewed so many wonderful people. You had such great, pearls of wisdom that were coming out then. Can you put one into words wisdom that you picked up from all of the guests that you interviewed? Doug and Erin, maybe Doug, if you want to go first.
Well, there was so much intelligence on the side of the men. They didn't matter what you asked them; they had the right answer, and the ladies were just wonderful. They accepted my blown kisses every now and again. So it was a wonderful experience for me.
So nice. And what about you, Erin? Anything that, you wanted to share sort of in terms of what did you pick up? What did you learn through all of these great interviews with these wonderful folks?
I learned, oh man, my dad has been in senior care, and it's been a really bumpy ride the last year. And I can't even tell you how often I've wished that out here in BC we had Schlegel villages, because Kathy, I swear to you, a couple of episodes in, you're going to want to move in yourself.
Absolutely.
I'm not even kidding. I mean, they say it takes a
Too
village.
true. True.
It takes a village to raise a child, but it takes Schlegel villages to nurture a senior. And God, why am I saying that? It sounds like I'm doing ads for them, but I'm just not. And the people that we met reminded me constantly to continue to make eye contact with the folks that my dad lives with, to understand that in there, maybe behind the fog or aside from the disabilities, and that's never been any kind of a barrier to me connecting with someone, but remembering that although there are things people no longer remember, there are also great stories that are right at the surface waiting to be mined. And that's what I'm taking with me. And there was a guest in particular who stands out to me, not among all of the laughter that we had, like Patricia and her husband, the Baileys. They were so funny, and I urge everybody to go back and listen to them. But it was Jack Pelechny, who was a chaplain, 12 years in education, 12 years of graduate studies, 12 years as a priest, 12 years as a hospital chaplain, and 12 years as a pastor. So we talked to him for 12 years. But no,
just felt like it.
Yeah, but what happened, though, with him was he was so open and vulnerable. We think of ourselves when we're with someone at end of life, but what about the chaplain? What are they going through? And his story about what the chaplaincy gave him brought us all to tears, including him.
Yeah.
Share with us the story of a woman who was close to death, her family surrounding her, and so many of us can relate to this, as I can with my mother when we took her off life support. But no one knew what to say or do. So, Jack, what was your counsel to them? What was your suggestion?
Yes, I went into a room that was a fairly large room that was designated for people in palliative care, and the mother was on the bed at one end and kind of sleeping, and the family, which included a spouse and sons and daughters and grandchildren, and aligning the walls around the room, and kind of sitting and crying a bit and whispering to each other. This gets emotional for me too.
It's okay.
I got two of the daughters to come up and stand on either side of the bed, and then invited them to start talking. And I said, just tell your mom, about something that you remember from your childhood, going on a family trip or, learning something in the kitchen, cooking or something. Just tell her. Excuse me. So what happened was that eventually others came up and stood by the bed, and the conversation was going back and forth over top of their mother, in the sense that it wasn't sort of speaking directly to the patient and saying, "Mom, how are you feeling?" Right. And expecting her to speak back. But it was the family sharing with one another, as might happen around the kitchen table, where one person is more quiet, but it doesn't mean they're not part of the family and not part of the conversation. They're just maybe not speaking as much. So I got them to share a lot, and they started talking and even remembering and teasing each other, laughing. Mm-hmm. And that's after about half an hour or so, I left the room. I thought, this family's doing fine. They're telling their mother what they value about her life, about the significance she had, what she taught them, the values they had, the character, the relationships they had with one another. And I thought, what more could a mother want to know on her deathbed?
There's like, I can't wait for us to get into some of these conversations this season, but I'm going to give Erin and Doug sort of their last chance here to say, don't cry, you guys, okay, to say farewell to each other. And of course, to your many fans and listeners, what would you like to leave them with and leave each other with?
May I go first, please,
Well,
Kathy?
Of course.
You were the reason people were listening. You just said so, Doug. So I'm just
Stop giving me BS.
I'm sorry. No, okay, go ahead.
Jennifer, Ted, and Melinda, thank you for giving me the wonderful opportunity of sitting on the green bench with Erin. Erin and I interviewed some wonderful ladies, from meeting the Dion quintuplets to growing flowers in a cement mixer, how to make the perfect Italian dinner, and of course, the horror honeymoon. But who could forget Aunt Rita with her pride and joy of skipping rope? Aunt Rita, did you have any toys when you were growing up, or was it just strictly farm work?
Well, what I had was a skipping rope, and I remember my brothers made my skipping ropes for me at a very young age, and I just loved to skip. We had a long sidewalk, and I would skip all the way out to the lawn gate and then back again. And then when when my brothers went to town, they bought me a store-bought skipping rope, we called it. Ooh. And it had wooden handles. And what a pleasure that was. That was a big, big thing for me.
Ladies, I thank you and blow you all a farewell kiss. Mwah! And to the men, thank you for sitting on the bench and sharing your elder wisdom and life's experiences. To our now 83,000 podcast listeners, thank you. Evelyn, I pass the torch to you. Jump on the tandem and go for a wonderful ride with Kathy.
Thank you very much, Doug. I look forward to it.
Dear Erin, with a treasure chest full of wonderful memories and tears in my eyes, it's time for me to say my goodbyes. But please, dear Erin, don't you cry. Just say goodbye. Enjoy your grandchildren. Bye.
Oh, Doug. Yeah. Oh, you are so sweet. You're so sweet. And I hope everybody can feel this big group hug that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. And
Erin, it's your turn now. If you can wipe away your tears, I know, and let us hear some farewells from you as well, to Doug and of course to the listeners.
Thanks, Kathy. Well, I'm so grateful that this is going to be taken on with so much love and fresh energy and excitement with you, Kathy, and with Evelyn, because this is a great soft place to be and spend time with friends that you haven't met yet. And that's how Doug was for me. I mean, I felt like I've known this man forever, and in a way, his love and his humor and busting out a tune anytime reminds me so much of my dad. And Dad is going to be 90 this year, and he's fading away from us, not physically but mentally. And to hear, all of the joy and the sharpness and the humor most of all, it just reminds me so much of my dad. So Doug, here's to you, Mr. Robinson. Heaven holds a place for those who stay. But thank you to you, Doug, for all the laughs and the gasps and everything. And I just want to remind you that one of my favorite quotes in a life of great highs and terrible lows is from Ivy Baker Priest. And she said, "The world is round, and the place which may seem like the end may also be the beginning." So may this be the beginning of many, many, many more wonderful, warm conversations that feel like a hug and leave people just nodding their heads and feeling like they really got something. So I'm going to miss you, Doug.
I miss you too, Erin. Erin,
Yes.
before we go,
Yeah.
can we sing a little song to Evelyn?
Sure. What is it?
Daisy,
Daisy, give me your
answer
answer
to.
to
I'm
Doug's half
crazy.
crazy.
Oh, for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage. So jump on the bike and on the
Do what
tandem
you like.
tilt
No,
and
that's
see.
not how it goes. It goes, you'll
That's
look
a-
sweet upon the
the
seat
seat of a
of a
bicycle.
green bench that's built for two. There you go.
There you
Well
go.
done. Erin,
Well done, guys. Thank you,
Oh,
Erin, and thank you, Doug. So,
Erin,
Evelyn,
yeah.
not only do we have big shoes to fill, apparently we have to
If I may,
ride a
though,
bike.
Kathy,
Uh-huh.
I'd like to say something to Erin and Doug
Of
as
course.
well. It's been a pleasure to know you, though it's been brief. But I also want to give both of you a special Polish wish,
Oh,
and that is 100 lat. May you live to 100 years in happiness and good health. I look forward to sharing the green bench with you at some time in the future. Stay well.
dziękuję. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Evelyn. Thank
What a
you.
lovely way to finish that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Evelyn. What a lovely way to finish that. Lots of tears, lots of laughs. That's what I hear in this episode, and that's what I think we're going to hear in all of the episodes ahead. Evelyn, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's going to be an exciting time. You know, the podcasts have been an excellent means for all the village members, residents, to learn about each other and to also share the wide variety of their interests and experiences and how they have enjoyed their lives. They certainly have dispelled, I should say, the old fogey image that many people have of seniors. So I'm looking forward to meeting and talking with a lot of very interesting residents in the year ahead.
Me as well. And it's all going to be, of course, about community and connectivity, as it's always been about. And Evelyn, I'm going to be looking forward to co-hosting this with you, not only because I think we're going to have a lot of fun together and learn together, but also because your grandchildren are older than mine. So I'm going to be coming to you for advice, particularly as my third comes along in May. Finally, a girl. I'm allowed to say that, right? Finally, a girl after two boys. So I will be looking to you for advice on that as well, Evelyn, as we wind our way through the many interesting guests on the next upcoming episodes of Elder Wisdom Stories from the Green Bench. Thank you so much, Erin, and thank you so much, Doug.
All the best, Kathy.
Thank you so much,
Kathy, can I blow you a kiss before you go?
Of course. Take you so. Hey, I got it. I got one in. I'm so excited.
You got
Amazing. And that's just made my day. So then where else do I go with this? Now I just need to say, please join us for the next season of Elder Wisdom Stories from the Green Bench. Evelyn, I can't wait to do this with you. And thank you so much, everyone, for such a smooth transition and handing this perfectly baked show over to us. We're looking forward to slicing into it ourselves.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you all, Doug and Erin.
Thank you, and have fun.
Wow, that was a great episode. On behalf of my co-host, Evelyn Brindle, I'd like to thank Doug and Erin for coming on the show to help us smoothly transition to the next season of Elder Wisdom Stories from the Green Bench, Season 5, that is. So thanks to our listeners who are listening and subscribing, and please continue to share your thoughts and opinions on social media using the hashtag Elder Wisdom to help everyone find us on this green bench. Please also visit elderwisdom.ca and take the Anti-Ageist Pledge. And Pearls of Wisdom, don't forget this. We'd love to hear from you. You don't have to be a Schlegel resident to participate and to share your advice and wisdom. Just go to elderwisdom.ca and you can record what you have to say. On the next episode, we have a new guest called Dawn Hewson. And Don used to work in intellectual property law. He believes in the power of earning a degree and is a lover of classical music. He's sure to have some great stories to tell us. Once again, I'm Kathy Buckworth, and on behalf of Evelyn Brindle, we are looking forward to seeing you next time. Your seat on the green bench is ready and waiting.
Elder Wisdom, Stories from the Green Bench, is brought to you by Schlegel Villages, a complete continuum of care, offering independent living to long-term care, celebrating and honoring the wisdom of the elder. To learn more about us, please go to our website, schlegelvillages.com.